Nice to finally meet you, man. I feel like I've known you for about 8 months now, and I finally just put it all together, I guess.
Well, it's very nice to meet you as well. Thanks for joining me today.
Oh, no, absolutely. My pleasure, man.
So what would be most useful for you today?
Well, I've kind of plateaued a little bit. I've been studying the LSAT for about 8 months now. I've been using your channel almost exclusively. I've seen the resources, and you've had several admission counselors, so I think I have a great understanding. It's just the timing and just kind of like to polish my LSAT skills. I've scored between untimed. I've scored up to a 170 on a few occasions, but normally under time conditions, I'm a high 150s and low 160s. And for me, I want to live up to my potential fully. So just to kind of, I guess, polish what I already have is what I need to work on. I have until November 25th, which is 14 days from now, but I am willing to retake it because that's something that you advise some of your students to doing if you feel like you could do better the second time around to do so. So that's where I'm kind of hoping to gain at least an initial here, and if possible to follow up probably after the LSAT in November.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Well, I'm glad my resources have been helping, and I'll do whatever I can to give you some guidance in these last couple of weeks. Now, with regard to timing, is that an issue you're facing on all sections or only certain sections?
All sections. Logical reasoning is my probably strongest section, and logic games is either my worst or my best, just depending on what games I face. But yeah, so I'm kind of facing an uphill challenge in timing on all sections. I've kind of neglected that for the last probably 7 months only because I wanted to get the understanding fully before I try to push the time. So I've been studying, been taking timed practice sections under time conditions recently, but I've only taken about 2 fully time tests.
Okay. So since you said logical reasoning is your strongest typically, let's start by talking about games a little bit. How many game sections have you done?
Well, I've probably done about around 40 completed tests, so a lot.
Fantastic. And have you taken my advice with regard to the order in which you approach the questions within a game?
I'm not exactly sure. I've seen like on your LSAT blog website, I've seen that you've like sequencing games, easiest to hardest. You grouped them all. You've done the hard work for me. I've used that. And like the hybrid games, the grouping, double layer sequencing. But in terms of just sections within the actual games within a section, no, I haven't tried that. I just try to open up the book and work my way through 1 to 4.
Cool. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about what you could do within a game. Within a single individual game of about 5 or 6 questions, you don't have to do the questions in order. You can do them instead in the order that you choose. That helps you build your understanding as you go. So you could do orientation questions first, then local if questions, then finally the general global questions, because that way you're able to make use of all your previous hypothetical scenarios to help you solve those global questions more quickly. The previous work you've done might help you eliminate a certain answer choice, or it may even give you the correct answer without you having to draw anything new. So that's one suggestion I'd have for you.
Okay.
Now, you've done 40 sections or 40 exams, which means 40 sections of games. That's plenty. I don't think you need to necessarily expose yourself to any new material other than what you come across in another timed exam you do or 2 that you do between now and test day. What's your plan for the next 2 weeks?
Just to I'm still trying to get through the sections because I'm being a little discouraged. I don't really want to move on and use, like you said, I don't want to expose myself. I only have limited resources. I'm over halfway there. So I kind of want to just keep practicing, just kind of honing my skills, like on logic game, just keep doing sequencing after sequencing till it comes almost a second nature. I like, okay, I don't really have to read and interpret the question. I just kind of get it and write it down and kind of work my way through it. So I try to save my time to there. So pretty much take timed sections and then hopefully at least, like you said, probably a test or 2 times between now and then.
Okay. And how many timed exams have you done so far? Have you just been doing sections?
Yes, but I have done completed tests, only 2. I've only done 2 fully timed sections because I feel like if I can't get the sections down, then I don't want to waste the effort on the test, only because I want to use new material when I take it just so I could really get a measure about what my skills and ability really are.
Yeah, I completely understand. So here's where we come to the question of what's your ultimate goal? Is your ultimate goal focusing on November, or is it a potential retake in January or beyond?
Well, in November, I want to take it one and done. I waited 8 months only because that was my goal, take one and done, and just get the best score I could get and then move on with it all. But if I get less than a 160, I know it's well within my means to get a 160. And if I think if I get less than that, then I would only just be selling myself short. So I would like to take the January or maybe a third time. I would hope not, but at least a 160. But I want to get the best score possible. If I've proven it that I've done it under untime, but just time conditions, I can't do it for whatever reason.
Yeah, so you do need more time to practice. That's without question. And I typically recommend taking at least 10 full-length timed exams before test day, before your real final exam, because you want test day to be just another run through where you've gotten used to doing those 5-section sittings, because it's a lot. You know, I mean, there's pacing with individual sections, but then 5 scored sections or 5 LSAT content sections with only one break in the middle is grueling. That's a feat of endurance as well. And
Right.
so you may want to, of course, save some exams for a retake, but I wouldn't want you to walk into November having only done 2 to 4 exams. Maybe, you know, at the minimum at this point, 2 weeks remaining, you could probably only do another 3 to 4 exams max. Like in a 2-week
Right.
period, doing 2 exams per week is 4 additional plus the 2 you've already done, which is 6. That's not bad. But I would also want you to have an eye towards, could you do even better for January? I know you're saying one and done, but if you're not where you want to be, you know, miracles aren't going to happen in the next 2 weeks, to be realistic about it. You know, you could improve a bit, but you might improve significantly more given another 2 months or so.
Okay. Okay.
So you might want to save a handful of exams from the 80s for that potential retake in January or beyond. So maybe you do even numbered exams for now and save the odd numbered ones for January. So that way you still have plenty of recent material to use if you need it.
Okay. I haven't touched any of the 80s, 82 to through 87. I haven't touched yet. I went through, literally started at 1, printed it out from a website from 1 and worked all my way through. I'm currently in the 30s. I went through the CD game, which was terrible for the logic game. I seen you talked about that one, and I see what you mean now. But yeah, I try to expose myself to all the older material before I went to recent, just in case. But that's because of your channel and your advice. So thank you.
Yeah, of course, my pleasure. And the thing I would suggest now is that you started from the beginning. What I would also want you to consider is that the exam has evolved over time. And so going for a retake, you could focus on the newer material now because the exam does evolve over time. More recent is on average more relevant. So I wouldn't necessarily want you to do all the old stuff at the expense of the newer. So obviously you are where you are for November, I'd say do a couple of those exams in the 80s just so you see the most recent evolution of the exam. And then if you retake going forward, you focus on the 60s through the 80s so that you're focusing on the most recent relevant material.
Okay. Will do, Steve. Will do.
Of course. What other questions do you have for me?
Well, just I know the LSAT score is only just a part of it, and I do have I would say a good reason why I want to go to law school. It's atypical, so I do stand out from the rest of the crowd in that respect. But as far as the letter of recommendation concerned, how much weight is typically given for people with experience? I've been working at a law firm for close to a year now. It's in litigation, so I do feel like I have some pull there. But could that potentially, if I'm lower than the 25 percentile in LSAT score applying to a school, would that help? Or how does that all factor together, I should say?
It's hard to say because every school calculates things differently. They have their own unique admissions index. Work experience is one of those soft factors that, of course, is not really quantifiable, but they do look at people as individuals. And so if you have the legal work experience, that would raise you above someone else with comparable numbers who didn't. They do like to see work experience in general. And they also like to see it with regard to the legal field in particular, because that shows that you have real world exposure to what the practice of law is actually like, as opposed to idealistic or media-based portrayals of that. So it can only help. I would definitely get letters of rec talking about this, and you could even talk about it in your personal statement as well.
Okay. All right, Steve. Well, hopefully I don't have to retake it in January, but if I do, then I'll surely try and look for maybe some of your private tutor sessions or maybe your classes that you hold. I'm based in Chicago, but I'd be more than happy to go to New York City to meet you if possible.
I appreciate that. Well, I'd love to meet you as well. I also offer everything online. So distance is no barrier at all. Just like we're meeting now, we can meet for one-on-one sessions or for the classes, just the same over the internet.
Okay.
It was great connecting with you, Marcos. Before we sign off, what would you say is the biggest insight you got from our call today?
Well, just the reassurance that even that the time exam that in itself will help me probably get better. That my full potential could be realized if I just practice more on time tests and not just learning the materials. I honestly do feel comfortable with most of it. I just need to budget my time better, I feel. And for you to tell me that I need to use recent tests could only help, and just take some more practice time tests would help. So I would say those two factors have been beneficial.
Excellent. Fantastic. Well, please keep in touch if you need anything as you go forward. And of course, let me know how November goes for you.
All right. Thank you, man. It was a pleasure meeting you, Steve.
Same. Take care. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.